Hello, and welcome to another edition of Exclusive Interview, coming to you from the studios of 84 TV Radio Abuja, Nigeria. My name is Stanley Bentu. The question I would like to ask today, at what point does leadership begin? Does it begin when we become president, governor, senator, member of a House of Representatives, or the chief executive officer of a large conglomerate? Or does it begin when we come out of our mother's wombs and have one simple task of leading ourselves? Well, that's what I'd like to find out. But before that, take a look at this report.
Who is a leader? There have been countless people through history that led people but were inhumane and destructive. Does that still make them leaders? A leader is someone who does more than just lead people. They have to be driven by the right motivation and make a positive impact on the people around them. A leader is someone who can see how things can be improved and who rallies people to move toward that better vision. Leaders can work toward making their vision a reality while putting people first. Just being able to motivate people isn't enough. Leaders need to be empathetic and connect with people to be successful. Exclusive Interview seeks to find out more about the simple yet complex phenomenon called leadership. On the show today, we speak to Dr. Ike Neliaku, whose work in the Nigerian public sector for over 20 years took him through top-level positions in federal ministries, the presidency, and the State House at different times. He served as special assistant to 5 successive ministers of information, culture, national orientation, special assistant to political advisor to the president, 2003 to 2006. Pioneer Special Assistant to the Minister of then newly created Ministry of Cooperation and Integration in Africa in 1999, and Senior Special Assistant Administration to the President, Federal Republic of Nigeria from 2010 to 2015.
Over the past 3 decades, my guest has played an essential role in both public and private enterprises. Please welcome Dr. Ike Neliaku.
Stanley, it's always a pleasure to be with you.
Yes. It's a pleasure to have you on the program.
Same here. Thank
today.
you. Thank you.
And I think we are talking about one of the most fundamental issues as far as the success or failure of a society is concerned: leadership. What does leadership mean to you?
Well, simply put, giving direction and being ahead. That's leadership. Being ahead of others. Because if everybody is at the same level, then you are simply colleagues. But somebody has to be ahead. And that person that is ahead gives direction for others to follow. If he's not able to give direction, then he's not showing leadership. That's why leaders lead. Leaders are not just storytellers. Leaders lead. They give direction. They carry trust so that those they are leading will be able to follow them, knowing that they know what they are doing. And they have to be competent.
There has been a lot of talk lately, especially from people who try to define what leadership is, about the difference between holding a position of authority and actual leadership. Is there any such thing, or is it just a convoluted conversation?
No, it exists, but it's a level. Leadership is usually in levels. So if you find somebody who has a position, he's just a positional leader. That's it. But what normally happens, those who hold positional leadership, if they know what they are doing, they use it effectively in a way that it brings them to the next level. John Maxwell actually defined it as level 4 leadership. You come to a place that you now have a position given to you for you to show forth leadership, perhaps in a public arena. It is the way you manage that position that advances you to the next level. Unfortunately, many people stop at that level. They are not able to go beyond that level. In some cases, they actually begin to go down.
So let's explore the other end, the bottom end of this now. If I don't hold any position of authority, can I still lead? Is it possible for me to be a leader?
But
even amongst colleagues?
What you're doing here is leadership. We usually think that leadership is only when you have a governmental position, authority, and so on and so forth. But at every level, we show leadership. You are the one anchoring this interview. If you don't do it well, the cameramen will not be able to follow you. So you are not showing leadership in your own sphere of influence. This is where you have influence. So everyone is expected to show leadership in our areas of influence. And that is what makes leadership universal. It is not just when I am in the position of a managing director or chief executive officer. At every level of the society, there is leadership. And it is when we are able to wield everybody together that we have that singular strategic leadership that now defines the identity of the organization. So yes, standing and leading. What you're doing now is leadership. If you're supposed to smile and you're crying, that means you are misleading those who are watching you. And you are not showing leadership. So it's everywhere.
Well, in fact, the reason I asked this is because looking at our country, Nigeria,
yes,
and living through it on a daily basis, I have had several experiences. One of those is traffic lights, for example.
Yes.
You may be late in the night or late evening or during a situation where the traffic is rather light. And if I come to a traffic light, when I stop, then maybe 1, 2, 3, 4 drivers stop after me.
Yeah.
But in other cases, if you go through, then
the tendency that they follow you.
Go through.
Yeah.
So what you're telling me is that we have these influences, whether we find ourselves in leadership positions or not.
Yeah, in fact, that brings us to the subject matter of integrity in leadership. Frederick Price will tell you that integrity is not when you are being seen or when you are being watched. That guy that waited, does it surprise you that sometimes people who are following him begin to abuse him?
Oh, yes.
I've had situations like that. I got to a traffic point, it was showing red, I parked. And they were hooting horns in and out. I looked back and I looked to the traffic light and it was still showing red. I sat down. One said, "You are a fool. You are a fool." I ignored him until the light showed green, and then I moved. I've had another scenario where somebody was ahead of me. He moved on. The next car to him moved on. I got to that place and stopped, and all the other ones behind me.
Car behind you.
Yes.
Who thought, why is he stopping?
Exactly. But at the end of the day, they all stopped and followed me until the light showed green. And then I moved and they moved. That is leadership. If I had decided to go on because the person ahead of me left, the other one left even when the light was showing red. If I had followed them, I would have followed them. They were leading me, but I said no. I will not submit to such leadership that lacks integrity. So I waited until it was my time. Somebody has actually told me, so what if you're returning home late in the night? And that's the tricky one. Around 2 a.m.
Because we have security issues here.
Exactly. So what if you are coming back
going to follow the law
late in the night and so on? Well, I will answer that here.
Okay, but at least the point that is to be taken here is that you can be very unpopular when you're trying to lead.
clear.
So how does a leader handle or tackle such situations when the decision that you have to face? And I want to talk about this more. So this is an opener to a larger conversation.
Okay.
When you were being insulted back in that traffic light and you decided to do what you wanted to do.
What was right?
What was right?
Yeah.
What did that feel like? And what was your motivating factor? What drove you to insist?
Just doing the right thing. I understood very clearly that a leader must show the way. Whether it's convenient for him, it's uncomfortable, he must sacrifice. So the insults were being hurled at me. I didn't bother because I knew I was doing the right thing. It's not about time or what I was going for. I should have started earlier. If I knew that traffic light was going to disturb me or slow down my movement, I should have factored that in.
It comes down to planning.
Of course, I should have factored that in.
You don't get to a traffic light.
No, and then you get where were you?
So right there's already a failure of leadership once you haven't planned your time properly.
Of course. That's why I said leadership is everywhere and everything. Some people will tell you that leadership is situational. And I said, no, it's not. It's everything. There is no situation that you have to apply leadership, and in another situation you don't apply leadership. Then it's not leadership, because at every moment you have to show leadership. People are watching you, mind you. People are looking up to you. You are unknowingly being a role model to so many people, and what you do becomes what they copy. And once they copy it, sometimes it is difficult to erase it. Why? Because Stanley did it. And they look up to Stanley as a role model. So most times, leadership is life. It's what we have to do. And we have to do it because that is the right thing to do. Not because it is pleasing to me. And that's why leaders fail. Because when they look at it from the perspective of me, what I want, what my group interest would want, you miss it. You miss it. Even within the context of your group interest, you should still show leadership for the greater good of the society. Try to bring your group into that greater good of the society. That is leadership.
Well, exactly how does one intend to do that? And that's what I want to find out in the second part of this program. But before that, we'll take a break. Don't go away. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Exclusive Interview. We've been having a very interesting chat about leadership with Dr. Ike Neliaku, and lots of perspectives that the good doctor has told us about, especially how unpopular it can be, and how lonely it can be to lead. And when we think about that, about the lonesome road of leadership, we think about maybe big mansions, executive mansions, and then the big leader brooding behind a dark desk. But according to your experience, it doesn't have to get that far for you to face backlash for doing the right thing. And we were just speaking. You said your daughter had an incident one time when she was she received a tongue lashing.
Stanley.
For doing the right thing, essentially.
Yes, she got to
what happened?
She got to a traffic light and she stopped. And this elderly woman, a mother, kept honking. Move, move, move. So she got confused. She thought maybe the traffic light has changed to green. So she looked up. It was still showing red. So when they now passed, when eventually it changed to green, the lady drove close to her and abused hell out of her. And then moved on. You face these things. So would that then make me to do the wrong thing? Even on a matter as simple as traffic light obedience.
And I can imagine that you were not there.
No, I
when this
wasn't there, of
happened,
course.
So you had to listen to your daughter narrate this incident.
Yes.
So as a father, what did you say to her to either reinforce or
You did the right
her
thing.
behavior? Mhm.
First of all, I wanted to find out how she felt. And she didn't feel anything. She felt that she did the right thing. And that is how it ought to be.
Yeah. But she felt rotten that somebody had insulted her.
Not just that somebody insulted her, but an elderly person who ought to know better, who could have been a mother to that child. That's the point. But she went the other way. So she felt very, very bad. But I told her, you did the right thing. That is the way the society is. So you better begin to learn how the society functions. Sometimes you could be doing the right thing, and then the impression could be that you are even doing the wrong thing. We've come to a point in our society that young ones are beginning to mix up tendencies in society because of what they have seen. Sometimes they take wrong to be right and right to be wrong. Because when you do a wrong thing over and over and over and over and over again, sometimes mindset of humanity, the psychology, gives you the impression as though, oh, this is actually the right thing. Maybe I'm the wrong person.
So this explains why you have this impression from a lot of some sections of the public where they say, oh, you are someone who had the opportunity of serving in an official position, maybe a member of a House of Representatives, a minister, whatever, and you've served under 5 ministers, so you have a lot of experience with this. I'm trying to imagine the kind of pressure that a political office holder has, and looking at leadership beyond just the ordinary, listening to the news broadcasts and responding to that, and understanding what pressures the leaders face. And we do know that there are sometimes when, if you do the right thing, and you, let's say if you're a legislator, you make law, you're a legislator, you make laws, or you're a minister, you execute your projects properly. But you come home and maybe you're not too rich, maybe even broke. And your people will tell you, oh, this one was stupid because he got that opportunity. He went there. What has he come back to us with?
Yeah, Stanley, this is very interesting. And it's not even about community. Even within your extended family. I won't mention names here, but a brother of mine, and you know, of course, you know, in Africa we have extended family network. So when I say brother, it could be one or two things.
It could be
but a brother of mine called me about 2 months ago and wanted to know exactly what was going on. Mind you, I left government some years back. But this person feels that others, when they leave government, they land. And for the next 20 years, they are fine. And this person said that he was in a car with a friend of mine, and this friend of mine was telling another friend that, can you imagine that Ike could no longer afford recharge card? Okay?
And for him, it was a thing of shame.
So this, my brother, felt very, very bad that he was talking about his brother in this manner. The issue wasn't whether I could afford it or I could not afford it. That was not the issue. The issue wasn't whether the man was saying the truth or he was lying. But the issue is that how dare you say so? Do you know the offices he has worked in? Do you know the positions he has held? How dare you say that he could not afford to buy a recharge card? That was the issue. In other words, having been in a position of authority, such as ABC, there is an expectation from your family. I call it conspiracy of the clan.
Yes.
Because
I think that's a good way to put it.
Because you will expect that certain things must have happened. Why? Because that is what they have been seeing. So why should you be the fool?
Reinforcing bad habits.
Completely. Why should you be the fool? Didn't you see so and so person? By the time you left office in 3 years, he built this mansion, he built that other one, he built that other one, he did this, he did that. And you went there and you come here and you're speaking English. You follow me?
So contrasting that with, let's say, the experience
so coming back to the issue, before then, let's talk about the
sold his house just before he became U.S. president.
Yes.
And didn't even own a house after 8 years as president of the United States. He didn't own a house.
Well, the one of Clinton, sincerely, I have some question marks.
Okay.
And the reason is this. We are students of history and politics. We read things. The kind of things that have been coming out in the last 2 years about the Clintons, some deals, some things, and so on. I don't want to buy into that school of thought, because I have also seen somebody who wanted to run for an office. He sold his properties to get money to start. He lost. He went down to ground zero. Another opportunity came for him to contest. He rallied round, now borrowed money to contest. When he won, for him it was a bazaar of recoveries.
Yeah, he has to recover.
He had to pay his loans, and he had to pay for the things he sold for the first time.
Yeah.
So for him, it was a double recouping. So there are many dimensions to this. And
how does this play out, Doctor, in the experience of statesmanship versus politics? And I'm not one of those who tries to extricate governance from politics. The truth is that they're inextricably linked.
Yeah.
When do you take a stand to become a statesman? I was reading about Kennedy recently, the Cuban Missile Crisis. And, this testimony from people who worked closely with him during that era. And they were all talking about how difficult it was for the then president, especially at such a young age, dealing with such, the real threat of nuclear war, and how he could deal with Nikita Khrushchev of Russia, and the pressure of all that. How do you satisfy your political base that wants you to take this tough stance, and understanding that they do not have the privilege of the information that you have?
Yeah.
And so somehow you have to work your way. How do you navigate through this checkerboard that is political leadership and statesmanship?
Before I come to the concept of statesmanship, let's even look at the process. A leader must have understanding. Very key. A leader must have very high dose of wisdom. But more importantly, a leader must have a team of good advisors who understand issues and see eye to eye with him. Because if you take it all alone, you are not likely to know everything. But when you don't have good advisors, your problem becomes double. And I'll give you an example. An MA decided to ask one of his close confidants to go and fetch him 4 idiots that he would like to do some experimentation with them. This is a story that has been going around, And this gentleman took off, spent 1 month combing throughout the kingdom, searching for idiots. At the end of the day, he brought 2. The first one, the MA asked him, okay, tell me, why is this man an idiot? His name, according to the guy, he said his name was Maharaj. So, okay, so why would you bring Maharaj? He said that Maharaj was given an assignment to take a bullock cart, to somewhere. While he was in the cart, he was still carrying his load on his head. And he said, these are leaders that cannot delegate responsibility. You're already being carried by the cart. all that is expected is to put your load on the cart and it will carry both of you. But he said no. He carried his load on his head and then sat on the cart. And he said, these are people who cannot delegate responsibilities. They clutch to everything. That's a kind of leadership. The second person, he said, this man built a thatched house and grasses began to grow on it. And they had cows. And he was busy forcing his cow to climb the thatch to take the grass instead of looking for what to do. And he was struggling to push this cow up. So these are leaders that in their tendencies, they don't want to know the competencies, the capabilities of those they are leading and give them specific assignments based on what they are being, based on what their capacities were. He said the third idiot. So, of course, at this point, the king was getting angry. And he said, I sent you for 4. Why did you bring only 2? He said, be patient. He said, the third idiot is someone that a king will send on a stupid assignment. And he will rush out to go and waste his time, waste the time of the king, waste resources, and come back being happy that he was given a stupid assignment. So he said, I am the third idiot. And the king said, okay, go on. Where is the fourth one? Say, king, live forever. The fourth one is a king, not the king. Is a king who will use matters of the state, surround himself with idiots, and initiate idiotic policies. And the idiots around him are happy to run around for him to implement his idiotic policies. These are kings without strategies, without good advisors, who are just on their own. Mm-hmm. So, what does this story tell us?
That there is one advisor who will be headless at the end of this. Exactly. We've got to
a king, somebody in leadership, naturally, let's even come to the politics of the nation, mm-hmm. politics of states, politics of local government.
Very quickly,
once an election is over, your constituency becomes the people you have been elected to govern, or the people you have been appointed to govern. At that point, you take the role of a statesman, not a political interested element. Because at that time, you become the father of the state, or the father of the nation, or the father of the local government, or the father of the organization.
The should always come first.
That does not mean that you will not show on political understanding, that some people helped you. But no, that should not then be the overriding factor. You must rise above and become a statesman. But what happens in our climb? Like the first idiot, we carry the affairs of our group interest on our head when we have been given a larger platform to show leadership. So leaders grow to become statesmen. But sometimes some leaders actually diminish because they don't understand the concept of a statesman, the concept of leadership, and the concept of just being a political leader who is occupying an office. Back to the first place you started, positional leaders.
Thank you very much, Dr. Neliaku. It's been quite enlightening.
Thank you very much.
Conversation with you.
Thank you. It's always a pleasure, Stanley.
Always a pleasure. All right, we will be right back. A very interesting conversation there. But the critical point is this: the interplay of leadership, crisis, governance, nation building, and development administration is intricate and inseparable. Now, this is so because the context of leadership, both theoretically and practically, reflects directly on national development. Warren Bennis, a leading author on leadership, once said it this way: leadership is like beauty. It's hard to define but when you see it, you know it. And that's it on Exclusive Interview for today. Until we come your way again next time, thanks for stopping by.